The wind had a way of telling the truth on the plains. It swept across the grass like a confession, whispering of storms before they arrived and calm after the worst had passed. On the morning Clara Bennett stood at the edge of the dusty station platform, hat pressed low and eyes narrowed against the sun, the wind told him something else entirely: your life is about to change. He hadn't planned to be there so early. Cowboys learned patience the hard way, and Clara was no exception. Yet his boots carried him to the station before the clock struck 9, as if the land itself had tugged him forward. He leaned against a weathered post, fingers rough from rope and rain, heart thumping with a feeling he hadn't named in years. The train was late, always late, and the waiting gnawed at him. He told himself he was only there to meet a woman who had answered an ad. Practical, sensible, a solution to a lonely ranch and a house too quiet at night. But the wind knew better. When the train finally sighed to a stop, steam clouding the air, Clara straightened. He scanned the doors for a woman traveling alone, maybe with a single battered suitcase. That was what he'd imagined, a hopeful bride with nerves and dreams tucked into her coat pockets. Instead, he saw a slender woman step down carefully, one hand braced on the rail, the other gripping a worn leather handle. Her eyes were steady, her posture brave. Behind her came an older woman, silver hair pinned neatly, leaning heavily on a cane. Clara's breath caught. The younger woman paused, surveying the platform, then turned back to help her mother down. Their hands clasped, young and old, steadying one another. For a moment, Clara felt like an intruder on something sacred. The wind felt quiet, as if waiting for him to speak. The younger woman met his gaze first. "Mr. Bennett?" she asked, voice soft but certain. "That's me," he said, stepping forward. "You must be Anna," she replied, offering a hand. Her grip was firm, honest. "And this is my mother, Eleanor." Eleanor smiled, lines at the corners of her eyes deepened by years of laughter and loss. "Thank you for meeting us," she said. "The journey was long." Clara nodded, words gathering in his throat. This wasn't what he'd expected. He'd written to Anna about the ranch, about the wide skies and the work that needed doing. He'd spoken of wanting a partner, a home filled with life. But nowhere had he mentioned an aging mother. And nowhere had Anna asked if it would be a problem. Silence stretched, thin as wire. Clara looked at the two women, dust on their hems, resolve in their faces, and felt something inside him settle. The ranch had room. His heart, he realized, did too. "My home has room for both," he said simply. Anna's eyes widened, then softened. Eleanor exhaled, a sound like a prayer answered. The drive to the ranch unfolded beneath a sky so blue it hurt to look at. Clara spoke of the land, how the creek ran low in summer and wild in spring, how the cottonwoods sang when the wind came up. Anna listened, asking questions that surprised him, about fences and seasons, about neighbors and the nearest school. Eleanor watched quietly, her gaze taking in every mile, every turn of the road. At the ranch house, a sturdy place with a wraparound porch and history etched into every board, Clara helped unload their bags. He noticed how Anna's shoulders eased when she saw the extra bedroom down the hall, sunlight spilling across a quilt folded at the foot of the bed. "You prepared this?" she asked. "For family," he said, not thinking. Then he smiled. "Which I suppose you are now." That first evening, they shared a simple meal, beans and cornbread, coffee strong enough to wake the dead. The house felt different with voices in it, with Eleanor's gentle laughter. And Anna's quiet humming as she washed dishes. Clara found himself lingering at the table, reluctant to break the spell. But life, like the wind, tests what it promises. The days that followed were a study in learning. Anna rose early, eager to help, her hands quick to learn the rhythm of the ranch. Eleanor moved more slowly, pain shadowing her steps. Some mornings were better than others. Clara watched Anna hide her worry behind a smile, watched Eleanor insist she was fine even when her hands trembled. The neighbors noticed, of course. In small towns, kindness travels fast, and so does judgment. At the feed store, Clara heard whispers. "Mail-order bride with baggage. What kind of man takes on another mouth to feed?" He kept his head down and his answers brief. He'd lived alone long enough to know which voices mattered. One afternoon, while mending a fence, Clara cut his hand. It wasn't deep, but blood bloomed red against the dust. Anna was there in a heartbeat, pressing a cloth to the wound, her touch steady. "You don't have to do everything yourself," she said, meeting his eyes. He wanted to tell her that doing everything himself was all he'd ever known. Instead, he nodded. The cloth warmed between them, a small bridge forming. That night, Eleanor called Clara to the porch. The stars were bright, scattered like hope across the sky. "I owe you the truth," she said quietly. "My health is failing. I didn't want Anna to be alone. I didn't want her choices narrowed by my needs." Clara swallowed. "You're not a burden," he said, the words rising from a place deeper than obligation. "This place, this life, it's meant to be shared." Eleanor studied him, then reached for his hand. "Kindness like that changes people," she said. "Don't be surprised if it changes you too." The seasons turned. Autumn brought gold to the fields and a chill to the air. Eleanor's good days grew fewer. Anna grew stronger, more confident, her laughter ringing across the yard as she learned to ride and mend and plant. Love grew between her and Clara, not loud or sudden, but patient, built of shared work and quiet understanding. Then winter came early, fierce and unyielding. A storm rolled in, trapping them with snow and ice. The power failed. The world shrank to the glow of a lantern and the warmth of a fire. Eleanor took ill that night. Fevered and weak, she clutched Anna's hand, fear flickering in her eyes. Clara rode through the storm for the doctor, the wind cutting like knives. He returned hours later, exhausted and frozen, with medicine and hope. Eleanor survived the night. When morning broke, pale and beautiful, she asked to be taken to the window. Clara carried her, careful and reverent. "I was afraid," she whispered, gazing at the snow-covered land. "Afraid I'd be the reason Anna never found her place." Anna knelt beside her. "You are my place," she said. Clara felt tears he didn't fight. In that moment, he understood what the wind had been telling him all along. Home wasn't walls or land or even love, it was the space you make for others. Spring returned, gentle and forgiving. Eleanor passed quietly one afternoon, sunlight warm on her face, Anna's hand in hers. The house mourned her absence, but her presence lingered in every corner, in the way Anna folded quilts and brewed tea, in the way Clara fixed the porch steps she used to sit on. Grief changed them, but it didn't break them. It bound them. Months later, Clara and Anna stood on the porch, the land stretching wide before them. The wind stirred, carrying the promise of new beginnings. "I was afraid to come," Anna admitted. "Afraid there wouldn't be room for all of me." Clara took her hand. "I didn't know how much room I had," he said. "Turns out, it was more than I thought." They married that summer, a small ceremony beneath the open sky. Neighbors came bearing casseroles and apologies. Children laughed. The wind whispered approval. In time, the ranch flourished. The house filled with life again, music, stories, the echo of Eleanor's wisdom carried forward. Clara learned that strength wasn't measured by how much you could shoulder alone, but by how much you could share. Anna learned that love could be both chosen and given, practical and miraculous. And when strangers asked how it all began, Clara would smile and say, "It started with a train, a mother, and the simple truth that a home grows bigger every time you let kindness in." The wind would rise then, carrying the story across the plains, reminding anyone who listened that compassion is a door, open it, and the world changes.